Drama with two of America's finest here on 5 follows tonight's 5 News and Sport. Here's Charlie.
Tonight on 5 News, Mike Tyson is arrested for assault after a hotel brawl. Harry Potter's fans turn up at midnight for their touch of magic. And the English rugby juggernaut destroys Australia down under. Good evening. Mike Tyson has been arrested after brawling with guests at a New York hotel in the early hours of this morning. The former world heavyweight champion, who suffered cuts to his hands, has been charged with assault and disorderly conduct. He's been held by police for several hours for questioning. Elaine Park has the details.
Mike Tyson has always been known for the power of his fists inside the boxing ring, but he's also no stranger to trouble outside. The self-described baddest man on the planet was arrested early this morning after a brawl with 2 men outside this hotel in Brooklyn. The former heavyweight boxing champion, once dubbed as Iron Mike, was treated for minor cuts after the other men apparently swung at him with an object taken from the hotel lobby. Tyson has had a long history of legal trouble. In 1992, he was convicted of rape and was sentenced to 6 years in prison. He served 3 years before being released on parole. Tyson was disqualified and banned after biting off part of Evander Holyfield's ear in their 1997 World Heavyweight clash. Then 2 years later, he was released from jail after serving 3.5 months for assaulting 2 motorists. And last year, he threw a punch at Lennox Lewis's bodyguard at a news conference, which ended in a brawl. Mike Tyson craves another shot at the heavyweight title. Today, he's been charged with assault and disorderly conduct, which means he could face another stint in jail. Elaine Park, 5 News.
The US is tonight claiming that Saddam Hussein's chief bodyguard has told interrogators the former Iraqi dictator is still alive. Abid Hamid Mahmoud was the ace of diamonds on America's most wanted list. He also claims Saddam's 2 sons have survived. They'd apparently fled to Syria along with their father after the fall of Baghdad. Ben Ando reports.
Anger in Iraq. Around 2,000 Shiites in a noisy but peaceful demonstration outside the US military HQ in Baghdad. Many of them former soldiers now unemployed, protesting about not having a job and not having a say in how their country is being run. Elsewhere, forced to squat in the street with bags on their heads and their hands bound by cable ties, suspected Iraqi resistance guerrillas seized in dawn raids by US troops in the town of Ramadi, about 60 miles west of Baghdad. But what of Saddam Hussein? Captured former presidential aide Abid Hamid Mahmoud has told US authorities that Saddam and his sons Uday and Qusay are alive and in hiding somewhere around Saddam's hometown of Tikrit. Those formerly close to the regime believe this is the first step in Saddam's surrender.
Saddam and this man also, they are cowards. They don't want to be killed. They know very well if the Iraqi people capture them, they will kill them. So what they want now, they want to surrender to the American.
In the famous deck of cards, Saddam is the ace of spades, his sons Qusay and Uday the aces of clubs and hearts, the only other ace in the pack, Abid Hamid Mahmoud. But intelligence officials think Saddam isn't the only thing Mahmoud can lead them to. He was also the official who knew most about Iraq's weapons of mass destruction, and politically, both here and in the States, finding them is becoming as important as capturing Saddam. Ben Ando, 5 News.
The US insists that a serious terrorist threat in Kenya has forced it to close the American embassy in Nairobi, despite objections from the Kenyan government. The embassy closed yesterday and its doors will remain shut on Monday and Tuesday and perhaps beyond. A fatal bombing at the embassy in 1998 was widely blamed on Al-Qaeda. Now the Pentagon claims to have new concrete information of a possible attack.
It's an issue if a continuing very serious threat is in the cards, but of course we're working closely with our Kenyan colleagues to try to minimize and neutralize the threat. So we're certainly not considering any permanent closing of the embassy at this time.
More stories in the news this evening. The call from the Commons leader Peter Hain for a debate on taxation continues to split the senior ranks of the Labour Party. The Foreign Secretary Jack Straw says the issue was too sensitive for ministers to debate in public, but his predecessor Robin Cook claims the government needs a more grown-up attitude to politics. 8 senior Anglican bishops have defended the appointment of a gay priest as the Bishop of Reading. They've written to the Archbishop of Canterbury, Dr. Rowan Williams, to back Dr. Geoffrey John. Conservatives in the Church of England had condemned Dr. John's appointment as catastrophic. Nearly 30,000 druids, spiritualists and tourists have gathered at Stonehenge for the summer solstice. The larger-than-usual crowd sang, danced and cheered as the sun rose over the monument to begin the longest day of the year. Prince William is celebrating his 21st birthday tonight with a fancy dress party at Windsor Castle. The theme, Out of Africa. Earlier today, William implored the press to be less hard on his father. He said journalists should give Prince Charles a break and that his dad deserved better. He also spoke of how his life has been influenced by his mother, Diana. Catherine Jones reports.
The invitation to have this evening, one that gets you through the gates of Windsor Castle. The guests ranging from sophisticated Sloaney types to student mates down from St Andrews. Everyone has been asked to come in fancy dress with the theme Out of Africa, and some have clearly taken William's instructions more seriously than others.
He said he thought it would be fun to get his family out of black tie, although he admits he's made his grandmother, the Queen, slightly apprehensive about what she's going to wear. With soul and 70s funk on the DJ's playlist, his university mates will have the chance to get on down with some senior royals tonight.
Earlier today, St James's Palace released a new image of Prince William taken for his birthday, all part of the carefully choreographed celebration of his coming of age, which included the filming of this candid footage released yesterday.
Subtlety weren't so subtle.
It was a devilish cunning plan.
It was. It was deliberate. It was impressive.
In a revealing interview also for his birthday, William's strong desire to keep a tight control on his life is very evident. A lot of people think I'm hugely stubborn about the whole thing, he says, but you have to be slightly stubborn because everybody wants you for one reason or another. Prince Charles was at his son's side for William's public engagements this week, and the young prince uses today's interview to urge his father's critics to give the Prince of Wales a break. He does so many amazing things, says William. I only wish people would see that more, because he's had a very hard time, and yet he's stuck it out, and he's still very positive.
Well, he's his dad, and I guess he gets on with him. I guess they're a lot closer now as well since his mother's died, so I think it's a good thing.
Oh, quite right too, to be honest. I think the two of them need each other and they should stick together, and I hope he has a fantastic birthday.
Well, that seems pretty likely, though quite what the Queen will think of her castle draped in fake leopard skin is anyone's guess. Catherine Jones, Windsor, 5 News.
Jonas is here now with the sport. Jonas, England's rugby team making history today.
They certainly will. I know you loved it, Charlie. I loved it. I'm sure all England fans loved it. Of course, we are talking about England's rugby players who've installed themselves as firm favourites for this year's World Cup. This morning, they confirmed their standing as the best team in the world with their first ever win over Australia down under. England triumphed by 25 points to 14 to silence the doubters and notch up a record 13th consecutive victory. Matthew Rumsey reports.
A ring of roses, a pocket full of rugby prizes. Clive Woodward's England beat the New Zealand All Blacks just a week ago. Today, world champions Australia were their quarry. Played 10, lost 10. That was England's record against the Aussies in Australia. But it took just 5 minutes for Will Greenwood to stick it to them. The Aussie press pack was silenced, having slated England for an inability to score tries. Try number 2 came from Mike Tindall, but it was the product of some exceptional ball handling. Johnny Wilkinson and Will Greenwood were the fast-fingered. England ended the 40-year-long victory drought on Australian soil with a Ben Cohen try. The final score was 25 points to 14. Australia were outplayed and it hurt. England captain Martin Johnson marked his team's 13th consecutive victory by lifting the Cook Cup. Matt Rumsey, 5 News.
What a game. England's success, though, hasn't rubbed off on Wales. A young Welsh side went to New Zealand, having lost 7 consecutive Test matches and suffered an 8th defeat in Hamilton. The All Blacks bounced back from last week's defeat by England, and Wales were in the way. The final score, 55 points to 3. The Waikato Stadium is an awesome place to come and play a game of rugby, and with the All Blacks on form like this, it's no wonder. Wales were the first to score through the boot of Stephen Jones and kept that lead until the 15th minute. But after some slick handling from the home side, Doug Howlett crossed the line for the All Blacks and scored the first of their 8 tries in the game. To make things worse, there were grave concerns for Colin Jarvis after that tackle. The Welsh flanker was stretchered off the field and rushed to hospital. The latest word, though, is that he's okay. On 34 minutes, fly half Carlos Spencer squeezed over the line to score try number 2, and by now it was all one-way traffic. This is number 3, this time Daniel Carter, the scorer. And number 4 came soon after that, and all of these points were in the first 50 minutes. At this stage, every Welsh player and fan was willing the final whistle to blow, but the tries kept coming. New Zealand added a 5th and 6th, and Joe Rokokoko got in on the act with the 7th and 8th try. It's the biggest defeat Wales have ever suffered at the hands of the All Blacks, 55-3, a day the Northern Hemisphere side would rather forget. Yes, and here's confirmation of Ireland's result. They beat Samoa 40-14 in Apia. Fly half Ronan O'Gara scored 32 points for the Irish, including 2 tries. Well, switching codes, and it's all hotting up at the top of the Super League. This evening, Bradford Bulls were beaten at home by Wigan. It's the first time in Super League history that the Bulls have lost back-to-back matches in the same season. This try from Nick Graham rounded off Wigan's victory by 35 points to 22 at Odsal. Bradford's defeat leaves them 4 points adrift of leaders Leeds Rhinos, but with a game in hand, Wigan are now just a point further back. Anyone for tennis? Yes, Wimbledon starts on Monday, and Britain's Greg Rusedski completed his preparations in style this afternoon. Rusedski beat American Mardy Fish in the final of the Samsung Open in Nottingham to claim the 13th title of his career. 5's James Pratt reports.
Having spent most of the last year out injured, Greg Rusedski has clearly been enjoying his return to match fitness. The Briton needed less than an hour to defeat 8th seed Mardy Fish in straight sets. Rusedski looked back to his best in this Wimbledon warm-up tournament. He broke the 21-year-old American serve in the 4th game of the opening set, which he took 6-3. Greg said he's never played better prior to Wimbledon. Certainly, he was wielding his wand in a manner which even Harry Potter would have been proud. Fish, on the other hand, took his frustration out on the tools of his trade. A different racket for Fish, but the same result. Rusedski claimed the second set 6-2, and with it the match. The British number 2 took away the £35,000 prize money, a shiny silver trophy, and a bag full of confidence. Maybe this is the year to have a flutter on a British Wimbledon winner. James Pratt, 5 News.
Well, the big race at Royal Ascot today was the Golden Jubilee Stakes, and it was won by the Australian 4-year-old Choisir, ridden by Johnny Murtagh in a course record time at odds of 13-2. It's a second win this week for Choisir, who produced a breathtaking performance to deny the favourite, Britain's leading sprinter Airwave, by half a length, and 50-1 shot Barron's Pit, a further length behind in third. Athletics, and just a week ago, Britain's Mark Lewis Francis won the 100 metres at the IAAF Grand Prix event in Ostrava, and today in Florence at the European Cup, he did it again. Lewis Francis, in the 4th lane from the right of the screen, accelerated out of the blocks, leaving all the other runners behind, winning easily and with a time of 10.22 seconds. A great boost for the GB men's team, trying to defend their title, and they ended the first day top of the standings. Well, finally from the Sports Desk tonight, a glitzy opening ceremony is taking place in Dublin for the Special Olympics for athletes with learning disabilities. Among the guests of honour are Nelson Mandela and Muhammad Ali. We'll bring you highlights in our later updates and in our lunchtime bulletin tomorrow. And talking of boxers, we'll also, of course, have the outcome of Lennox Lewis's latest world heavyweight bout tonight. That's the sport, Charlie.
Thank you very much, Janice. On the stroke of midnight last night, bookshops across the UK opened their doors to hordes of excited Harry Potter fans desperate to secure a copy of the 5th instalment of the Young Wizard's Adventures. It's called Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. For Potter fans across the globe, it's been a long 3-year wait, and for author J.K. Rowling, it's sure to be another money-making bonanza. Colin Slee joined the fans picking up their beloved books.
Within minutes of opening at midnight, this was the scene in hundreds of bookshops around the country. The new Harry Potter book is breaking all the records.
Every time I've looked at a clock, I've been like counting down the hours to go and the days. I'm just so amazing. I don't know, I feel how my head goes now.
But for its author, signing books in Edinburgh, it was enough that she'd managed to keep the story a secret.
I don't think anything crucial's got out, so I'm happy. In fact, I think it's miraculous, given the number of books that are being produced and the number of people who are involved in that everything hasn't been revealed, so I'm actually really happy.
Today, the queues weren't quite so long, but there were plenty of reminders of why the Harry Potter series has captured the imagination of children everywhere.
How evil Voldemort is and how sweet Ginny is.
And how
so,
Harry survives Voldemort and the danger
4
that
times
he might get killed every time.
But it's not just the children who are making this the fastest-selling book in history. Is it for you or somebody smaller?
Well, let me tell you, my smaller one just bought one and she won't give it up, so I have to buy one for myself.
But the big question is, who's being killed off? And there were no clues here.
Oh, the thing is that, you know, when you look into a crystal ball, you can't always see the future. You have to look and read on. To tell that now would spoil the story for so many people.
So the new Harry Potter book is on target to become the biggest selling book since the last Harry Potter book 3 years ago, and in the process it's expected to contribute £30 million to J.K. Rowling's already considerable wealth. It's a literary trick Harry would be proud of. Richard Slee, 5 News.
And just a reminder now of our top story. Mike Tyson has been arrested after brawling with guests at a New York hotel in the early hours of this morning. Well, that's 5 News and Sport tonight. Elaine will have an update at 11, but for now, from Jonas, myself and everyone here, bye-bye.
Hello, I want to drink your blood.
Hey?
I'm the pollen count, aren't I?
That's rubbish, that.
Be prepared for summer with Beck and A's Hay Fever, sponsors of 5 Weather.
Hello, good evening. Well, for the longest day, it certainly was a mixed one. Plenty of sunshine through England and Wales, but also plenty in the way of showers through northern parts. Now, a fair amount of cloud around today as well, pushing in across western parts, but clearer skies through England in particular. Now, as far as rainfall goes, well, it's fairly dominant through Scotland for today as well as tomorrow, and those are going to develop tonight, leading to some heavy, thundery downpours tomorrow. So we're in for a rather muggy, humid night. It's going to feel sticky with highs of around 14 degrees. Now, those showers will begin to spread through northern parts as well as pushing in through the southwest. But elsewhere, where we've seen the best of the weather today, should remain relatively clear and dry. But then it's all change, I'm afraid, for tomorrow, and many of us can expect to see some rain at some stage or another. Now, it'll start off dry and bright in many places, and then in the afternoon, when the temperatures are really hotting up as high as 27 degrees through the south, more in the way of showers, some of which, as I said, could be heavy and thundery. Now, a brief look ahead, and it's not a great picture for the north. Dry but cloudy on Monday, great on Tuesday, but showers again by Wednesday. Now, it's a very different picture for central parts. A great outlook, and that's largely due to a band of high pressure, so plenty of sunshine around and highs of around 24 degrees. And finally, for the south, well, it's a very similar picture, feeling very warm with highs of around 27 degrees, and again, plenty of sunshine around. That's it from me. Have a very good evening.
I can't believe I'm stuck in office while in pollen on a day like this. Woo!
Be prepared for summer with Beck and A's Hay Fever, sponsors of 5 Weather.